And now we're going to update this print. So instead of just using print functions here, instead of just printing things out like this, we're going to create our own logger, which is a much better way of logging out information. So to do that, we're going to close our window file. And if we go back tree and we just look at our structure again, what we're going to do is going to create a new folder inside our app utils. We're just going to call it utils. That's all. To create a new file. And we're just going to very quickly make our logger, a custom logger. And there we go. And we'll just add a section here as well, because we might add some additional things to our utils function in the future. Cool, save that. And make sure we don't have any spelling errors. Looks pretty good. And now we're going to open up our app window file again. And we're going to import our logger. So we go from utils, import logger. And we created a custom logger like this so that we can, when we set our level and when we set properties on our logger, we could have our logger printing in like 100 different places, potentially. And we want to be able to flick on and off functionality for that logger in one hit. So instead we're going to replace all of these print statements with our logger.info, because it's just information that we want. Replace all these. One small issue, we can't add arbitrary number of arguments to our logger to print in the same way that we do to our print function. So for this, we're going to have to create a formatted string, which is not a big deal. Like so, and then the same with our draw, because we're going to have this DT as well. And our DT, we're going to set the precision to be no more or exactly 4 decimal places. And there we go. Now we're going to save that. And then when we run this time, see before, we just had draw, exit, and just this information. But when we run it now, assuming that there's no errors, of course, there are going, missed out on little closing dash there. Now when we run, now we can see we've got our init, our size, our draw, which is looking a bit nicer now. And this is important because we can see if there's, if there's some sort of problem, if there's a huge gap here, if it's stuttering, seeing the DT can be very helpful for diagnosing any sort of big problems. And then we've got our exit at the end. But we've got all this extra information now. We've got the timestamp, we've got the log level, we've got the file that it was actually logged from, and we've got our actual message. And so this is really good. Like there's lots of information which we can, it tells us a lot about what's happening. Now, one cool feature is if I just bring up our utils here, if I want to not log all of the info, if I want to only log errors and nothing else, now when I run this again, it's not logging out any of that stuff. So we didn't have to go and comment out every single one of it or anything like that. The great thing about using loggers in this way is that we can toggle on and off the information that we want to see with a very simple, just changing the level in one place. I'm going to leave the info on because we're going to be using that throughout the whole process. But there's lots of other things loggers can do, but this is one thing that, one of the reasons why you should be using them. Anyway, there we go. Now we can get on to the next part, and I'll see you there.